It is Bones. And in this one, let's go ahead and do a video, a little updated version of my Silver Age slash classic lineup of the Justice League. Now, this video did come up because somebody did comment down below and asked if I could do an updated roster and figure selection for my Justice League lineup. Now, it wasn't as easy as I thought it was going to be. Tons of figures to choose from, tons of lineups. But in the end, I thought I would just get, your more popular characters and do my best to represent and recreate the lineups of a Silver Age Justice League and a classic, although a little bit more modern, Justice League lineup. As we all know, McFarlane has been adding a lot of new members of an expanded Justice League roster. Now, as far as Silver Age goes, this is more of a lineup of your classic, old school, Golden Age, Silver Age heroes. Now, I did have to mix and match a bit to get the lineup that I wanted. A little bit of custom usage, a little bit of bending the rules a little bit, but I did get a lineup that I was really satisfied with. Now, we all know that we are waiting for the Dr. Fate to come out from McFarlane. It's going to be a Silver Age digital wave, which is going to be Dr. Fate, Superman, and also a villain in the lineup, which will be Two-Face, but that will be more for Batman's Rogues Gallery. But I'm very interested to see the renditions that McFarlane does for that Silver Age lineup. Really been wanting a comic style Dr. Fate, and another Superman will be very much appreciated to add to the collection. Now, upon other little topics that I'll bring up during the lineup, which will be sort of like backstory and stuff that I want to talk about. But let's go ahead and start the lineup now. First off, I'm going to do my old school Silver Age lineup. And pretty cool to start it off with. We're going to look at a character that I have never looked at. I had to take this out of the box to add him to the roster, and that is going to be Green Arrow. This was from one of the digital waves, had been sitting for a long time. I just never got around to opening him up, but very interesting figure. Looks nice. Really a lot of texture and design that they added to this figure. Although I have to say some of the articulation is limited because of the way his vest is and the way the hood is. If they would have done that all in soft goods, you'd probably have a lot more range of articulation. But for what he is, he's a very nice looking arrow. Although it is more of a old school style, giving off a little bit of that the the Robin of Locksley vibe. So very nice figure in hand. I really like the colors that they used, the way they did apply the quiver to his back with all his arrows, and they did give us one single arrow to use. Now, I did go ahead and string his bow for him since it just came, plain as a long bow. So I just added a string to give it some playability. Really nice. I really wish I would have reviewed him to do some figure photography, but I can always do that in the future. So that's our first Silver Age lineup member, a new one to my collection, and that is Arrow. Now, coming up next, we have a classic member of the Justice League, and that is John Johns, Martian Manhunter. Now, the thing about this version for me is that he was really short on his standard release, so I had to do a lot of, adjusting to get him as tall as he is. Now, I will do some tall comparisons in this video. I'm going to use the Hush Batman. As everybody knows, he's one of the taller Batman figures. So that way you could get a pretty much exact scale between all the figures I'm going to compare to him because he is one of your taller figures. But as you could see, This classic Martian Manhunter is slightly taller than that Hush Batman, and that is the way it should be. He is, I think, around 6'7" or something like that in the comics. So really cool. Added an alternate hand for this one to give him a little bit of personality. But in the end, with all the changes, this Martian Manhunter works really well. The only negative I would say is you have to adjust and extend the peg and do a bunch of stuff to get him at this height. But once you put in the work in, he works really well with your old school Justice League lineup. Now, coming in next, we have my custom Hawkman. I made this by using the collector's edition platinum, making him more of a traditional Hawkman. Now I do have a video on the channel if you want to check it out about how I did this. Pretty nice Hawkman. This is more of what I envisioned when I envisioned Hawkman. That platinum edition didn't really do it for me. I still have one in the box that I've never opened, but I'm happy to have this Hawkman to represent the character in my collection. Pretty nice that I added a lot of details like the yellow tips on the boots, and I gave him the articulated wings from the Tyrant wings, which really finished him off and makes him a complete Hawkman. Really happy with that figure. He fulfills all the Hawkman needs that I have, especially when you're thinking of a traditional look for Hawkman. So that's our next member of the Justice League. Now let's go ahead and bring in my classic Aquaman. Now this one's pretty interesting because it is using the Digital Wave Silver Age Aquaman body only because I love the colors, the green, the bright yellow, and that vibrant orange. Really call back to the old original Aquaman, old school style. Even the trident that I gave him is more of a traditional golden age trident. One of the big differences I did to this one is, of course, adding the black trunks. Even added the little accent color on the sides with just, the cherry on top. And the alternate NECA Flash Gordon head because this one really screams Arthur Curry at me. So this is my go-to Aquaman. Pretty nice. You could have the interchangeable hands from the Silver Age digital version. And like I said before, one of the main fun parts about this is taking the figures and making them what you want, adding your own touches and making it your figure. This is a pretty colorful, eclectic lineup to to start the Justice League Silver Age. So I think we're doing really good. Now you can't have a founding members Justice League without having Barry Allen, the Flash. Now this is the Flashpoint Flash. Everybody uses him for their classic Silver Age Flash. Although we do have tons of flashes to choose from, right now I'm getting ready to review the Flash from the Task Force wave. I'm really interested to take a look at that one, especially the head sculpt, and maybe do some head swapping with this body. But for now, this is a lot of people's go to Flash for a classic look. The way you could see his eyes in the mask is really a detail from the golden age, the silver age of the comics. Now, I think his lower body is a little bit thick for my taste. I like a leaner Flash, but you cannot deny the fact that for looks wise and aesthetics wise, this is your classic Flash, Barry Allen. Now bringing in our Green Lantern, which has to be Hal Jordan. There is no other choice. He is one of the figures from the digital wave as well that was also labeled Silver Age. You can tell that by the costume design. It has that single stripe green with the black sleeves. And this is ripped right out of the pages of the comics. I think when he meets Abin Zur, They both have that same split costume, one of the older costumes for the Green Lantern. But this how I really like that head sculpt, gives him that quirky devil may care look. And all in all, it's a great Green Lantern Hal Jordan, especially if you want a clean, no sculpting, no texture design. It works perfectly for your Silver Age lineup. Now we're getting into some spicy stuff. This is going to be my Wonder Woman. Now, of course, this is the collector's edition platinum version. Also have one of these still in box. So this is the one I use for my display. And the main thing you're going to see from her is her scale. If I put her up with the Batman that I talked about earlier, you can see she's really smaller than him. And I have to be honest with you, that is the very reason why I modified her so that she wouldn't be way taller than all of these classic versions of the characters. Making her a couple of millimeters shorter really ties her in well to this old school Silver Age lineup. Really nice looking figure. I'll give her that. She got the butt. She got everything you want from a Wonder Woman figure. The colors are a little bit more brighter and harken back to that golden era of the DC Comics. So that's our Wonder Woman for this lineup, the Platinum Edition. Wonder Woman. Now we're going into Superman. I had to do it. This is the cleanest, most old school version of Superman you're going to see. This is the Earth 2 Superman, head swapped with the first appearance of Superman head. A lot of people have done this. And in fact, when choosing a Superman for this lineup, I, jump back and forth between different ones that I own. But in the end, I really like the square jawed and the toughness that this Superman gives off. I just think it works well with this old school lineup. Now, this is a really tall figure. If I put him up to the Hush Batman, you can see he's even slightly taller than him or not, just level with him. So this is a tall Superman. Nice clean suit with not a lot of detail and added texture sculpt. So he fits in perfectly with this Silver Age lineup. And finally, one of my favorite figures of the year so far, really a big surprise, and that is the rightly labeled Silver Age Batman. I did review this one. Really nice figure, some great accessories. You also get Ace the Bat Hound, wired soft goods cape, and some great articulation in this Batman. So once again, I had to choose from a lot of different Batman, and I just thought it fitting to go ahead and add this Silver Age Batman to the lineup. Finishing off the lineup and adding this old school caped Crusader. So you could really see the way the colors work well. A lot of bright colors, almost like a pastel palette a little bit, but it works well. All these figures look good together. So this is my Silver Age old school lineup of Justice League. As I said before, we're still missing some members. I could have even added the Atom in here. We're waiting for Dr. Fate. We have Firestorm. The thing about that is that I'm going to add those figures when we finally get a lot of the other figures that we're waiting for, a lot of the other characters. And then I'm going to make a whole, expanded Justice League team. In fact, one character I didn't want to add was Cyborg, because although we've received a couple of cyborgs, you have that giant Flashpoint cyborg. You have the one from the movie. Recently, we got the Grid, even though he's more of a crime syndicate cyborg. Now, we received our Rebirth cyborg, but wasn't a big fan of it until I got a hold of him and did some customizing. And I will be doing a video on this guy to show you how I added some more weapons, more articulation, and repainted him a little bit to give him a sleeker, cleaner design. But that's something else that we'll talk about later on. So be looking forward to that video I'm going to do on my custom ultimate cyborg, getting back into the team. Now that we've finished off this Silver Age lineup of the Justice League, let's do a classic lineup, but with a little bit more of a modern twist. Now I'll go down the same roll call, starting with the Green Arrow and ending with Batman. Now, this is really interesting because this is another figure that I had to open, to do this. I hadn't opened these at all. I also have the Injustice one or the Page Punchers. I'm not even sure. But what I did do to these Green Arrows is I modified them. If you look at this one with his cap, I think this might be the Page Punchers one. I took off the shoulder pauldrons and cleaned up the arms. I really like that sleeveless look for this classic Green Arrow. Now, I know it's not your traditional comic one. We're still waiting for that. But with the changes I made on this guy and the repainting, the removing of the pauldrons, this one is a great stand in for your Green Arrow in your Justice League lineup. Really enjoyed this one. He was fun to pose and to move around once I got him, looking the way I wanted him to look. But we still have our fingers crossed that one day we'll get that more 80s styled Green Arrow, which I know everybody is waiting for. But we'll keep it moving, and this is going to be our classic Manhunter with a little bit more of a modern flavor. This is his alternate uniform. Now, once again, I had to do some work on this one. I added some metallic green paint, added an alternate fist, raised them up a little bit. Now, I'll put him next to the Hush Batman, but you could see that he's not as tall as the classic one, but he's no slouch. He's right up there with the Hush Batman. So that means that he could be represented in a tall version, not in that shrunken down version that they released for us. This one wasn't too much work to get him a little bit taller, but the added metallic paint really gives him a different feel. Surprisingly, another figure that I hadn't touched in a long time, but once I added the alternate fist and added some waist articulation, he was really fun to pose and move around. So a cool figure to have as an alternate Martian Manhunter. Now we'll go into our Hawkman for this lineup. Once again, I'm going classic lineup, but still with a modern feel. I think this Hawkman was from 0 Hour or something like that. It was the standard release for the collector's edition. Of course, he comes with the stuck wings, so that's like it takes up a lot of space. But I really enjoy this figure. The long hair, the gold, the leather feel to the straps of the costume. I did give him a larger fist hand and repainted it to match, as well as highlighting the gold a little bit more, adding a more yellowish gold to the figure. Now, I do have a standard release of this one up here on the shelf where he's, exactly how he came out of the box. But this one, I just wanted to add my own touches to him. But for filling in the Hawkman slot, he works perfectly well for this lineup. Pretty happy with that choice. Now, this is going to be an interesting one because couldn't really decide which Aquaman I wanted to use. We do have the Endless Winter, we have the 90s version, have the Silver Age, as I spoke about before. But in all honesty, I wanted something, I didn't want the long hair, I didn't want the beard, but I wanted a little bit more of a modern color scheme for the Aquaman suit. So what this is the Endless Winter body, but I did put the digital Silver Age Aquaman normal head on here, the standard looking head. I think the other one was smiling, which gives me shivers even now. But this head really has grown on me over time. And when you put it on this body, it even adds a little bit more, something else to it that really works. So I'm really happy to add this Aquaman to my classic modern team up of the Justice League. Really cool when a figure that you're not a really big fan of, you can use parts to make something that I'm really happy with. This just gives this Arthur Curry a whole new look. You don't even need that NECA Flash Gordon head. This is pretty much your quintessential Aquaman. So this is the one I'll be adding to my classic lineup. Now, as far as Flash goes, we are going to choose the Wally West Flash. Now, a lot of people weren't big fans of this Flash, but I have to say, he has become one of my favorite figures. What I did to this one is he had that big cheesy smile, even psychotic looking smile, and I cut out a little bit of the teeth and then glued it back together, making the teeth less prominent and kind of tone down that lunatic smile a little bit. Added a lot of articulation with the mods and painted his boots gold. And honestly, I have to say, now when I pick up this Flash, I just cannot put him down. He's very fun to pose. Once again, taking a figure that probably isn't everybody's favorite, but making him my own and making him something that is very fun and a great addition to my collection. So that'll be the Flash for this lineup, Wally West Flash. Now, here's another one that I really had a hard time deciding which Green Lantern I wanted to use for this lineup. I could have used John Stewart, could have used Kyle Rayner, but that's more like a 90s lineup. This is your classic lineup, so you have to have Hal Jordan in there. Now, I've seen a lot of people do this head swap where they add the Hal Jordan digital head to the new Green Lantern core body. Now, I really like this look. I don't have a problem with it. The only hesitation I do have is I feel like McFarlane is going to release a Hal Jordan using these textured Green Lantern bodies. So I'm kind of leery of that because I'm pretty sure he's going to do it. Not so sure he'll use this head, but the costume style that matches a lot of the lanterns we've received, I think he is going to do that. Now, I just borrowed this body to make this list. Right now, I am working on army building a lot of these Green Lantern core characters. But I think to get a classic looking suit, you have to use this style of the costume. But what really I'm going to do with this Hal Jordan head is I'm going to stick it on this collector's edition platinum body. It has that single stripe suit with the black arms. I already painted the neck, the flesh color. So once I get done doing this lineup, this Hal Jordan head is really going on this body so that he could match up with Abin Zur, which once again goes back to even DC Universe Classics and even the old comics, where when they met, they both had that same kind of singlet suit where it only has green down the middle. But for this lineup, I wanted to represent him with a more recognizable costume. So that's the Green Lantern I'm going to have in this lineup. Now we are getting almost towards the end. We're going to add our collector's edition Wonder Woman. Now there is a reason why she is in this alternate lineup. That is because this one is a little bit taller than the one I modded. So if you put her next to Batman, she's slightly shorter, very minimal, but she's almost as tall as Batman. So I really need other characters to fit in with her. That is why I have no problem putting her in this lineup because a lot of the figures are going to be a little bit taller, matching up with her a little bit more than my Silver Age lineup. Oh, once again, beautiful Wonder Woman figure. I mean, she's looks good. She got it going on. Really a lot of fun. Another one that I haven't touched in a while, but once you pick her up, you start posing her and moving her around. She's really a fun figure to have in hand. And that brings me into our Superman. I gotta go with this one. There's tons of Superman you could choose from, but this is my favorite. This is my go-to. This is my definitive custom Superman. Now I did make him by using a body from the Vampire Batman. So if you match him up with the Hush Batman, He's gonna match right up. Even he might even be a little bit taller than that Hush Batman, but the costume really works. You have the emblem from the original Superman 1000 head, and I even added the yellow S on the back. So for until I could get a wired red cape and make another, completely different custom Superman, this will be my go-to classic Superman. Really fits in well with this lineup. And finally, yes, of course, we're going to add my custom black Hush Batman. Now, this is really the blue Hush Batman head that I repainted way before they showed us the black and gray version of Hush. I was rocking with this one almost half a year before they released that one. And really, this one is still special to me. The darker brown belt. Once again, I added articulation to him where he has a lot more range of movement. So he's really fun to pose around and display. So this is my classic Batman with a little bit of a modern look. And he matches right up with this lineup with the Wonder Woman, with the Superman. He fits in perfectly and really finishes off this classic, a little bit modern lineup of the Justice League. So, pretty fun video. I do want to wait to add a lot more characters to where that lineup, the expanded Justice League lineup, will be like all of these figures here, but you'll have Dr. Fate, you'll have Cyborg, we'll probably throw Plastic Man in there. I mean, an expanded Justice League lineup where we can add as many members as we can. So that's going to be a completely different video, probably more a year away from doing once we get in a lot more characters. But as you can see, I'm continuing to have fun, really enjoying these figures and making them my own. But as always, you guys keep hunting out there, keep collecting. Keep customizing, and I will see you on the next one.
They used to call me Crazy Joe, but now they can call me Batman.